So we have a quite simple agenda for you. We'll get my intro out of the way as quickly as possible, but I really want to give you a bit of a context on those of you that don't know us yet, that don't know the nature of our talks here, to get a bit of an understanding of which context we're talking about here. Why are we having this conversation? What is Unusual Pioneers and what's Yunus Social Business? That's going to be a very quick intro in the beginning, and then we'll have the fireside chat with Gisela, moderated by our co-founder Saskia Bruysten, to then go into networking, where you'll have the chance to either stay in the plenary session if you don't really feel like networking, or you can go directly into breakout rooms where you'll be able to meet others here in the participant list, able to, if you win the lottery, actually also to meet Gisela maybe in person and have a chance to have a one-on-one or one-to-two with her. And then we'll close with a short Q&A. So let me jump right into the welcome and into why we're here today. And if I can have the next slide, please. We're here for a very, very humble mission, which is building new roads towards a new economy. That is ultimately our goal. I think as an organization co-founded by a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, I always joke around that it's probably the most pressureful board meetings you can ever have. Anything short of a Nobel Prize is losing out. But we definitely have the chance to bring here, together with an amazing set of partners, and obviously an amazing set of people that are leading the charge of change and social business specifically in this case, and social entrepreneurs. It's really an inspiration to rethink how we're doing business in the future, how we want to have our economy contribute to the best of us, to people, planet, and society. And it's nothing short of that we're looking in with a program that we've built up in the last couple of years called the Unusual Pioneers. In our work with companies at Yunus Social Business, we've always seen that there are certain inspired people, really, the Trojan horses, we sometimes call them, otherwise also the fire souls, I heard them call it as well, and the engine rooms really of a company when it comes to change, people that really drive change from the front and lead by example. And those for us are the Unusual Pioneers who see how their company should be doing business and then lead through action, lead by example. So on the next slide, you'll see some of those fire souls, some of these great examples that we have been able to put together with the program called Unusual Pioneers, that is being set up in partnership with the Schwab Foundation, a sister organization of the World Economic Forum, as well as 15 sector organizations such as Acumen, Business Fights Poverty, Business Call to Action at the UNDP, Ashoka, League of Intrapreneurs, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of really, really amazing partners that have been coming together to support change agents within companies, social entrepreneurs. Now, what are social entrepreneurs? Obviously, for those of you who don't know, social entrepreneurs are entrepreneurial employees within a company. They use the assets of a company, they use the resources, the skills of a company, and then actually put it to use where it can solve a social or environmental problem. And with an impact first approach, and you'll hear a very concrete example from Gisela just in a minute. Gisela's journey is also tied quite a bit to ours, and that's why we're so excited to have you here and have that conversation today. The social business that Gisela set up, Nutrivida, again, that you'll hear about in a second, was inspired, but then also obviously jointly set up between Professor Yunus and you. So that is obviously an amazing journey that we all share. So with that, on the next slide, just want to give you a bit of an idea of what the program is about, that Gisela is joining with us together with 14 other entrepreneurs. And we just actually had our kickoff yesterday, where the entire crew, the entire set of social entrepreneurs met each other. So I love this slide that Lisa, our program lead here, put together, which is really the essence of the program. It's both head and heart, right? It's bringing the rationale to the place on how can we actually make impact work, how can we do small things like transforming companies for the better, but then at the same time also building the people behind that, driving that passion and that heart that everybody has, and also help them carve that out into what does that mean for them in the future. How can we build resilient fire souls, resilient social entrepreneurs? And that's really the part of the program where we'll be taking care of each other and taking care of the people that are driving change. You'll hear much more about the program in the next couple of weeks and months. There's going to be lots of opportunities to communicate, to hear about the individual entrepreneurs. We'll be announcing the next event here at the end of the call as well. So stay tuned. There's so many great stories to share, and obviously so much impact to still be made. With that, I'll hand over to Saskia. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thanks for sharing where you're dialing in from. You can see that it's a really diverse crowd here dialing in. Again, if you have any questions to Gisela or Saskia during the session now, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll have an opportunity for you to speak during Q&A. And with that, over to you, Saskia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Saskia Broyston. I'm one of the co-founders of Yunus Social Business. Thanks so much, Daniel, for the introduction and for kicking us off here today. I have the honor to introduce our guest of honor today, who is Gisela Sánchez from FIFCO in Costa Rica. Gisela is the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at FIFCO. For those of you who don't know FIFCO, it's the largest bottling company in Costa Rica, and Gisela will talk about it a little bit more in the future. Before joining the company, Gisela worked as a consultant in the areas of competitiveness and sustainability. She is an industrial engineer, so not just like an awesome corporate social entrepreneur, but she's an industrial engineer, so she clearly has the brains as well. She has an MBA from the Kellogg Graduate School. She is a fellow of the Central American Leadership Initiative. She received the Stephen Smith-Heine Innovation Award on Sustainability. She's a McNulty Prize laureate, etc., etc., etc. She's done many different things, including also being on the Forbes list of most influential women in Central America. So we have a real superstar here at the table, and I'm just absolutely delighted to hear from you, Gisela. And Gisela, to be very honest, I'd love to jump right in and hear from you if you can tell us, what is Nutrivida actually all about? And just disclaimer for everyone, Nutrivida is the corporate social business that Gisela has started in 2013. So Gisela, tell us about Nutrivida, what it is all about, what problem it solves, and why you created it in the first place. Gisela, over to you, and welcome to this event.
Thank you so much, Saskia. Greetings from Costa Rica to everyone. Thank you for joining this conversation. Nutrivida was created 8 years ago, and actually it was because I was participating in a program of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, and they told me that I had to create a project, a social project. So I started thinking about what is close to my heart and what I wanted to do, and immediately came the idea of food for everyone. To give a first start to every single children that I can help. So and almost at the same time, I came across a paper written by Professor Mohammed Yunus about the social business concept, and I was so excited because the concept is so simple, but at the same so powerful, that I decided why not to create a social business. In the beginning, I was really naive and I thought I could do it by myself, be an entrepreneur. But pretty soon I realized that it was almost impossible for me to do it. And I decided to convince FIFCO to join this idea and to create Nutrivida. And then right after convincing FIFCO, I had to convince you, Saskia, and Professor Yunus to join me. I became a personal stalker of the two of you.
It was quite awkward at some point.
Yeah, going to every single event around the world, twice to Bangladesh, to Haiti, to Kuala Lumpur. I cannot even remember so many times that I was trying to convince you to join us. And Professor Yunus was always like, Costa Rica is too far. You don't need our support. Let's do it alone. Until I came to Haiti. And maybe because I was too persistent, or he wanted to get rid of me, he said, yes, let's do it in Central America, incorporate Haiti, and do this. So what is Nutrivida? Nutrivida is a social business that uses your model, which is quite brilliant. And we have a bold mission. We want to eradicate undernutrition and malnutrition, hopefully in Central America and Haiti, and if it's possible, beyond. What is undernutrition? A few people don't know. It's the lack of micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals in food. So maybe people can have the macronutrients, can have enough food, but at the same time, they don't have the right quality of this food, and that is why they have undernutrition. Actually, 8 billion people, 2 billion people around the world suffer from undernutrition. And so I started thinking about this possibility to design products that for us are fortification vehicles. So it doesn't matter the category, it has to be something that people like to eat, that can be affordable for the bottom of the pyramid. And the brilliant thing is that instead of giving away food, because that is too expensive and difficult to be sustainable, we sell it at cost. And we created an alliance with fortification companies like DSM to have the right micronutrients inside, to have the right taste and flavor, because FIFCO is a food and beverages company, so we have the know-how to deliver these micronutrients in the best way possible. So that's basically Nutrivida. We started with 3 products, and now we have 13 products. Fortunately enough, we were able to go outside Costa Rica to expand to Central America.
Okay, Gisela, let's dig a little bit deeper. Tell us a little bit more about one of those products. Like, what does it look like? What does it cost? Where, if I do not have a lot of money but need nutrition, can find it? Just like what, let's make this really concrete so everyone really understands. How
Super.
many of those have you sold? You know, let's get into the nuts and bolts.
Absolutely. So we have one of our start products is an infant cereal. And this infant cereal is for babies between 6 months and 2 years old. And actually that is exactly the perfect timing for nutrition for a human being. There is a concept called the 1,000 days window that starts when somebody a woman becomes pregnant until this baby is 2 years old. And people need to know that this is the most important time in terms of nutrition for a human being. The lack of micronutrients, it's completely irreversible in this 1,000 days window. So our start product, I will say, is the infant cereal. In addition to that, we have soups. We started with chicken and vegetable soup, and now we have bean soup, we have meat soup, vegetable soup, and chicken soup. In addition to that, we have powdered beverages like drinks. We started with one which was orange, and now we have different flavors. And then we decided to create a spice mix because the spice mix with all the micronutrients, and by the way, it doesn't have any artificial ingredients, and a very reduced amount of salt. In the case of the drinks, sugar is really small. We can actually deliver these micronutrients because people use spice mixes for everything. In Latin America, for rice, for beans, for picadillos, for meat. So we can incorporate these micronutrients. That's why those are fortification vehicles. And now we're in the middle of the process of developing a new product. It's gonna be a complete meal in one shot. The good thing is because these are really easy to prepare products, really feasible and taste good, people like to eat them. And the price, of course, is around 50% of a regular product. And that's why maybe we have been facing a lot of competition from regular companies. They not necessarily like social businesses, you know that, Saskia, because it's like messing up the market. But now that they understand we can be together. And now we have 13 products in our portfolio. Wanted to expand because if we enter new markets, we have to adjust the taste, adjust the fortification formulas in order to be a good option and a good opportunity for fortification in a different country. So that's our portfolio. And we have a Manu network, a women network that distribute these products. In Costa Rica, we have 650 women that earn between actually $100 and $300 per month, which is a lot in Costa Rica. And in addition to that, we use almost every single channel. We go to supermarkets, mom and pops, we sell to the government. So anybody who wants to sell from us, we sell at cost. And that makes us more, like the products more available and easy to find.
Fantastic. No, I think that gives us a lot more flavor. Gisela, just in terms of price, can you give us a feeling like if I want to buy that, like what does it cost me to have one of your awesome soups or one of your cereals? Like, is that extremely affordable so everyone can afford that, or how does that work? And
yes, it is.
You know?
Yes, it is. For example, the infant cereal, normally these products are like $2 in the market, the regular products. Ours is $0.7 for the same amount that you can find for $2 to $3 normally. So it's pretty cheap. Our drinks are really, really cheap. I'm trying to calculate because it's like 50 colones and the $1 is 600 colones. So it's really, really cheap. And but one interesting thing, Saskia, even though the prices are really low, this is a really high quality product. Mm-hmm. It's like selling a high-end car with the prices of very like a cheap model. So for people that in the beginning, we have been doing this for 7 years, it was difficult to understand that you can provide a better product with a significant, like a really small price. That is a challenge that everybody has to face when they have a social business, and something that we learn the hard way, I will say, because we spent a lot of time trying to explain why this product was so cheap, but at the same time, high quality.
Exactly, Gisela. I think that's fantastic. What you just said in a nutshell is you stripped the product to its essence. You know, what is the essential part of the product? It is the nutrition, it is the taste, and you try to make that at the lowest possible cost. So coming from there to sort of the struggles of making ends meet. It is a social business, which means that it does also have to be profitable to be able to cover its cost. I know from our personal discussions and interactions that we've had over the years that was also a struggle at some point. But I hear Absolutely. That you're now at a point where you are actually profitable. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how you actually made this work, not just as a product offering to customers, but one that actually also ends up being profitable enough to cover all of its costs.
It was a pretty painful journey for at least 5 years. Actually, we came to a point that we not even know if it was possible to become financially sustainable with the expensive micronutrients that we have to incorporate. And at the same time, for example, our chicken soup has real chicken inside, real vegetables inside. So it's not like chicken flavor. And it was because of the raw materials were so expensive, it was so difficult for us. And because of the little margin. So even though we were growing and growing, in terms of the quantity that we were selling, we were not getting to the break even. And I made a huge mistake. This is a lesson learned. Don't overpromise. Like it takes a lot of time to become financially sustainable. So the very first time I promised the board of FIFCO that we will be sustainable in 3 years. And after 3 years, they start like, so when is happening? And it put a lot of pressure on us. So another piece of advice, don't think with your corporate hat, because in corporations, there is a lot of resources, normally financial resources. It's better to think as an entrepreneur with very limited resources. So to get to the break even sooner. So that's a lesson that we learned. The other one is that we didn't know that we had to face so fierce competition from big companies. Didn't incorporate this into our model, into our P&L projections. And because we were talking over the years, we had to make really, really smart decisions in terms of efficiency, decrease direct marketing expenses. In the beginning, we were doing marketing. Now we don't do except for social media and things that are really, really cheap and efficient because it's so expensive for a social business to do so. But now, and actually the pandemic helped us a lot. It was amazing because people were more interested in buying good products for their nutrition, to be healthy. So we rocked, like we actually, our sales grew more than three digits, more than 100% per month, every month since March until August of last year. And so it was a blessing, like the pandemic for Nutrivida. We were able to compete in government bids to sell to schools, hospitals. And now that everybody knows that it's a really good product, it's easier to do it. But now we produce around $9,000 per month of profits. It's nothing. And it goes up and down. So we are right there, break even, but struggling a little bit with the, I hope that we will be able to expand, increase the sales, because it's all about volume. Prices are really, really small. So it's like we are retailing. We need to sell thousands and thousands and to get to the break even. So it has been quite a journey with a lot of mistakes, Saskia, a lot of mistakes, all of them you can imagine we made, but a lot of lessons learned too.
Well, I'm so happy, Gisela, that that's why you're one of the unusual pioneers, because you were ahead of the curve compared to most companies. And I'm really glad to have you also in the cohort of the unusual pioneers. So you will be able to share those stories, not just with our broader audience here today, but also, of course, the 14 other unusual pioneers that are at various stages of their own development. So I think you're going to be a great contributor. But coming a little bit to sort of the corporate behind Nutrivida, the whole, the company called FIFCO, obviously a Costa Rican bottling company. You know, we've been speaking about some challenges, including like, how do you actually convince your board to you know, support a social business? Can you talk us a little bit through the challenges that you had, both at the beginning, but also over time, to make clear to your board that this social business was sensible and necessary for FIFCO? Tell us about that, Gisela.
Yes, the good thing is I joined the company 13 years ago, and actually we were working since then on as a triple bottom line company. So we measured the success of the company not only in terms of economic value, but social and environmental. So the right mindset was within the board of directors. And actually we have been increasing the percentage of net profits that we invest in social investments. And now is around 8% of net profits that every year go to a social business. So for me, it was easy to present this opportunity. As Professor Yunus always says, a dollar invested in a social business have an eternal life compared to an investment in a regular like NGO, when you have to, every single year, you have to invest again. So for us, it was I will say a great opportunity. And with Professor Yunus' support in Nutrivida, even better. So the first part was because of the right mentality, and because the board has his heart or their heart in the right place. It was a great value proposition. Along the way, I made a lot of mistakes. One that I will say is, this is not about Gisela. This is the social business that is for everyone and is everyone's, like it's their own. So you need to do that in order to have the support of your colleagues, of your peers, of the employees, that they feel motivated to participate. So this has been quite a journey. It's sometimes difficult because they have so many priorities, so many things to do, to convince them to take time to support Nutrivida. But because of the vision and the mission of Nutrivida, which is basically providing food for people in need, it's such a nice goal that people get connected to it. So it has been, again, a journey to convince people, and not only within FIFCO. We have 50 allies between NGOs, government officials, other companies, because it's almost impossible for one company to do it by themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's all about networking. It's about communicating in a very simple way that we produce food, highly nutritious food, sell it at cost, and try to get to as many people as possible with this right nutrition.
Makes sense. Gisela, still coming a little bit further to the whole question of, how much is actually Nutrivida linked to your original core business? Is there a link? Do you use the resources of FIFCO, or is that really entirely separate? Can you talk to that? Because I think that's also relevant for people listening.
Yes, it is linked to the core business because it's food, and we are a food and beverages company. So it's really, really close to the core business. But at the same time, and you know that better than me, Professor Yunus asked us to become completely separate, like physically, and in terms of the operations, the governance, it's independent of FIFCO. Because I guess it's important for a social business to be a little bit independent, so nobody gets too excited about creating profits within the social business. But in terms of the know-how to develop the products, the flavors, the right fortification formulas, the distribution, because FIFCO is a company that has a lot of competitive advantage in terms of sales and distribution in the Central American region. We use Nutrivida, we use FIFCO a lot, but in a very independent and responsible way. So it's a lot of synergies. For FIFCO, it's good to have Nutrivida too, because they can learn, that we can experiment, they can understand the health and wellness movement, which is really important to incorporate that into our regular business.
Got it. So it's really innovation. It's understanding these new customers. And I guess to a certain extent, probably you also used your connection in terms of the distribution model that you've been using, et cetera, et cetera. But indeed, it is fairly separate. And I think I just saw also an exclamation mark from someone in the chat that you are actually every year investing 8% of your net profits into social business. That's quite a significant amount. Is that now only into Nutrivida for its growth, or have you gone beyond there?
Beyond there. Like, we invest in Nutrivida, but we have many different initiatives. One, to eradicate poverty within FIFCO, and we did it 3 years ago. We kept going because we have new employees and people who live below the poverty line. But we have this program for these. We have we're creating a new bottle for our products, which is compostable 100% and bio-based 100%. A lot of things going on with that. So many other initiatives, social and environmental, and of course the opportunity to create new social businesses. So it's a portfolio of social and environmental projects that we have.
Fantastic, Gisela. Coming back to sort of the link between the social business and the mother company, do you have the feeling that Nutrivida as a social business has changed the way that FIFCO works? Has it had an impact on FIFCO as a whole? Has it transformed it in any shape or form?
Absolutely. Not only in terms of the motivation for the employees that feel really proud to be part of a company that is doing social businesses, and it's creating social and environmental value at the same time that we produce value for our shareholders, economic value. There is a lot of learning and flexibility to have intrapreneurship within a company. It's an opportunity for people to get excited and propose ideas, not only in terms of the business itself, but to solve problems. And I strongly believe the barriers between the three sectors of society, government, private sector, and NGOs, is really small in these times. It's like companies want to create social value, NGOs want to be really efficient as businesses, the governments don't have enough resources. So it has been a movement within FIFCO, and because of the volunteering program that we have, people go to Nutrivida to work. So it's an amazing opportunity, not only to refresh and do something different, to communicate with other employees, to do things together that they normally will not do. Like, it's impossible for somebody from a manufacturing facility to be with the CEO for the whole day doing volunteering, and they can do that within Nutrivida. They can acquire the products. They actually use them a lot within their own families because of the high quality. So it has been a virtuous cycle in terms of innovation, motivation, and flexibility to explore. That is something that is important for a company, especially if it's a structured and big company, to have that opportunity to make mistakes, because again, we have been making a lot, but to have the opportunity to explore new paths and new journeys.
Fantastic, Gisela. I want to kind of like make a break with all the business talk and just come to you personally. You have been in this for like also almost a decade, and I still see you smiling and like super energized. What's your inner driver to still be at it after such a long time of, you know, ups and downs and lefts and rights? What's your driver? Where is this coming from?
Well, I have a pretty deep connection with this topic. As you mentioned, I am an engineer, but I come from a very, very poor family here in Costa Rica. Learned English when I was 17 years old. That's why I have to apologize for my accent. And actually, I remember, thank you. I remember when I was a little baby and a little child. I remember when I was 5 years old, my mother used to feed me with condensed milk and water. And she did it. She loved me, of course, and I loved her back. And she thought that it was great taste, and I liked it very much without thinking about the nutritional value. So I suffer under nutrition myself, and I experienced poverty really close to me because both my families are really, really poor. So for me, right in the minute that I started thinking about doing something, what should I do? How I can make a difference? The first word was always food, food, food. I know that people think education is the key to get out of poverty, but there is a little step before that, and that's nutrition. If you don't have the right nutrition, you can have the best education, the best professors, technology, everything. And because your brain has not developed in the appropriate way, you will not be able to study and develop to your highest potential. So for me to provide this fair start that maybe I didn't have, but thank God we're here and we're fine, is the most amazing thing I can do with my life. So if I had the time, I will say, let's incorporate nutrition as a I would say, universal right for everyone. Nobody has to suffer from malnutrition. Everybody should have that opportunity. So for me, it's something that is close to my heart. I will always would like to work on this until the last day of my life. So it's something that keeps me motivating. For me, it's like a daughter, Nutrivida. I have two sons and a third one, which is this social business that I enjoy so much, looking into this growth and the opportunity to increase social impact.
Fantastic, Gisela. Wow. I get goosebumps here to see how you are true to your personal purpose and living that out over the years. That's really very impressive. I think with that incredible part of the story, I would probably suggest to move to our next stage, because that was just like quite special to hear your personal story here. We have a little sort of like brief interlude where we are going to allow everyone to network and talk to each other. And one of the tasks here will be to discuss among yourselves what are the essential questions that you still want to ask to Gisela, so we can continue after that short break. And I'll hand over to Dan, who will briefly moderate that. Thank you, Gisela, for this first part.
Thank you, Saskia.
Yeah, also from my end, thank you so much for sharing, but most importantly also for continuing to battle through the 7 years that have been up and down, as Saskia said. That's really, really inspiring. And we have a lot of questions already on the chat for you for the Q&A later on. So that being said, we did want to give you an opportunity to enjoy a bit of an unusual event format, obviously staying true to our branding. Don't jump off just yet when you hear breakout sessions. You're allowed to just join in and not speak at all, or stay in the plenary session. But for those of you who want, we'll have a very quick round here of 5-minute breakouts, during which we would ask you to introduce yourself. Just name an organization, because that gives you more time to then talk about what do you think about social entrepreneurship, why are you engaged in it, why are you excited about it, and also, what are the questions that you actually want to ask Gisela in the Q&A. So with that, we'll kick off the breakout rooms. Again, if you don't want to join in, stay in the plenary or just listen in, and then we'll join in a second back here in the plenary in about 5 minutes to then have the Q&A with Gisela.
Just a quick practical question here. Gisela, how do you actually avoid the resell of your products for profit to other customers? I'm sure there are all kinds of people that are using that as a business opportunity.
Yes, we don't avoid it, by the way, to be honest. We don't know how to do it. So we sell it at the right price. And because in the case of Costa Rica, it's such a small country that it's easy to know if there is somebody else who's selling with a cheaper price. So it's difficult to resell. But it's basically that. We don't control it. We use the forces of the market and try to survive as everybody else as a social business.
And then just moving right ahead on that like selling process, was there a level of education that was needed to educate the customer that malnutrition is an issue?
Yes, we have two education programs. One for our women, so they can deliver nutritional education within their communities in addition to the product. Mm-hmm. So they need to understand the 1,000 days window. They need to get this education to their communities. And at the same time, we try to educate the consumers or the population in general, because people don't know that even in a country like Costa Rica, we have 18 communities, or we call it cantones, where like the babies between 6 months and 2 years, they lack iron. They have an iron deficiency, and it's critical to work around that. So we do. It's part of our mission as a social business, not only to deliver the product, but to deliver the education that comes along, and it's as important as the nutrition.
Got it. No, I think that's great. And I think along the lines of targeting and the consumer base, I think we have a question here around if you had to adapt the local tastes. I think you mentioned that also in our conversation. And if you had a specific sort of marketing strategy to reach the particularly undernourished or malnourished, how did you do that?
No, actually, we don't have a particular strategy. One thing that we learned that is very, very important is that people at the bottom of the pyramid don't like products that are tailored to the bottom of the pyramid. That was one of the main lessons learned. They like products that are aspirational. They want products that, even though they have a small price, if you look into I'm going to send you like the packaging of Nutrivida is really, really high end. And the nutrition is really, really clear, because in the beginning, when we were targeting the bottom of the pyramid and unnourished, nobody wanted to buy them. Even the poorest of the poor told us, this is not a product for me. So we identified that was a huge mistake and changed it. And actually, that is why we have been able to get to 2.3 million people, because everybody would like to access these products because of the quality, not necessarily because of the price. So that's one thing that we learned pretty soon and the hard way. And it's something that I will share with this group so they don't make the same mistake that we did.
Hey, and we're getting other interesting questions, since you also mentioned that FIFCO is a triple bottom line company looking at both the social and environmental impact next to the profit. We're hearing here from Mark that the food value chain obviously has a significant carbon footprint. And he was wondering how you actually minimize the emissions for Nutrivida, i.e. particularly in the procurement of the ingredients. Is that something you look at already?
Yes, and actually we became, as FIFCO, we became a carbon positive, water positive, zero solid waste company years ago. We measure not only the footprints, the carbon emissions footprint, water and solid waste footprint of our own value chain and manufacturing facilities distribution, but we work with our suppliers to reduce the carbon footprint, water footprint, and solid waste footprint of our raw materials. It's something that it's actually we pay more, and we decide to choose among our suppliers the ones that are working with us to reduce, to work on the environmental component that is as important as the social one. So that's something that we're really proud about. And actually we compensate our employees from the CEO down 60% for getting to economic indicators, 40% social and environmental.
Wow. Okay. So you've really gotten the social and environmental KPIs into the management or even employee compensation, and
everyone.
That clearly drives change within an organization. I learned a saying that people I'm not getting the saying right, but something paraphrasing it, you can only make people achieve something that they're being paid for. So if they're not being paid for social and environmental topics, they're just not going to focus on it.
Absolutely.
Hey, and Gisela, we're getting another question here from Benoit, who's also a co-unusual pioneer together with you. He's asking that you mentioned that FIFCO employees volunteer in Nutrivida. Can you explain that concretely, how that works and how they're being engaged? Because I think that may be relevant for him as well.
Absolutely. We have, within Nutrivida, we have only 10 employees. But in order to produce packaging, to deliver products, to do testing, we offer the opportunity for FIFCO employees. And actually, we give them 2 days per year during the labor time. It's not like Friday, it's not Saturday or Sunday. That is not something that we like to practice because we want them to do it in our time, to go to Nutrivida or to go to the communities, to deliver the food, to prepare the packages, etc. So it's a force that I think is a strong tool that every single company has that helps to motivate people and at the same time provide the link. It's not the same about talking about the social business and say, we have this postcard, we have this presentation, it's better to leave it. So the best way to do that is through volunteering of your own employees. 98% of our employees do volunteering within FIFCO. And that has been a tremendous tool to drive the change that we have been experiencing so far.
Fantastic, Gisela. I have one final question for you, and then we're going to have to unfortunately end our session. It's just been amazing, and like the questions are firing in, and I just can't get them all. But basically, I think what somebody is writing here, Caroline is writing, basically she's saying probably the way you can add most value from your experience with Nutrivida is to help other people persuade their boards to support these kinds of initiatives, like multinationals like Unilever, J&J, Kraft Foods, etc., Nestle. So basically, I guess the question is a little bit, how do you actually persuade these guys, these boards to support social business? And in some ways, what is your advice to any employee within a big corporate that wants to follow the Gisela Sánchez way?
I will say 2 things. One, in our world, if you want to be ahead of the pack, if you want to gain a competitive advantage as a company, it's not enough to create economic value. It's not enough. So you have to convince your board that in order to be competitive in the short, not even in the long term, in the short and medium term, you have to start being differentiated by the social and environmental value that you are creating. Because on a shelf, the products look the same, quality is the same, and price is the same. So the way to differentiate your products and your services is with this social and environmental value. And second, I will say, find or choose a project that is close to your heart. Of course, close to the core business, but close to your heart. You will need the energy. You will find the motivation within yourself to do it. I would love to finish with this quote that I found 10 years ago. The majority of people not even think about their personal purpose. And I read this beautiful thing that says, the place where, what purpose is the place where your deep gladness, the best that you have inside, meets the world's deep hunger. That sweet spot you have to find. So if you not asking the right questions, start asking the question. Convince your board with your energy, with the idea. Of course, it's always good to have a business plan, in this case, a social business plan, and convince them that this is the right business decision to make.
Fantastic. Gisela, that was, I think, a beautiful ending. Clearly a call to action for everyone to connect their personal purpose also with the daily work that they do. I think that's, of course, a key success factor that has brought you to where you are right now. I want to say a big, big thank you and a big round of applause to you and all the work that you're doing. Thank you for being such an amazing, unusual pioneer. And we're looking forward to working with you now over the next 6 months to help you grow Nutrivida even more and help FIFCO do even more of that great work and share those stories with others to influence them to do something similar. Thanks very much. And with that, I'll hand over to Dan, who will do the closing.
Thank you.
Thank you also from my end, Gisela. We may want to actually ask you, given the many key open questions that the participants still have, we may want to ask you to actually do a bit of a blog post with us to answering the remaining questions, those that are most exciting, so that we can share that with the audience after the call here, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And I'm going to write down my email so everybody can send their questions. I will be more than happy to connect with everyone that wants to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for this invitation. I feel really honored to be an unusual pioneer. I hope I will not let you down, and we can do amazing things together.
Thank you, Gisela. That's very brave to share your email. I hope you have it cleaned out so that it's room for more. I'm sure you're going to get the one or other now from everyone here. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. That just leaves me to actually close with highlighting the next upcoming event. We're having more of this great stuff. We're well, you know, no pun intended, we're hungry for more, obviously. We want to learn more. We want to learn more about the unusual pioneers that are participating in the program. And the next event like this is coming up on July 13th already, 1 p.m. Central European time, this time, together with Ruchika Singhal, the Vice President for Global Health and the Medtronic Labs at Medtronic. We're going to be talking about health for all. Thanks for sharing. Yes. So it's going to be equally exciting, equally interesting. Ruchika was also on the call. I saw some comments from you. Thanks so much for joining. We are very much looking forward to the conversation with you and the great work that you're doing also in social business to bring healthcare to all. Follow us on LinkedIn. We shared the links. Look at the websites. Join us on July 13th. We have much more in store for you in the next coming months. So we're all super excited about social entrepreneurship. We hope that we can spark that excitement within you as well. And we hope that we can create a community that exchanges lively on this. With that, thanks so much for joining today. Looking forward to the next session, and have a good evening, good day, or good night, depending on where you're sitting. Thanks so much.